Okay, so last time we spoke, our topic was on generating more quotes, increasing our quote volume. And obviously, we want to quote qualified prospects. Now that we have some prospects into the pipe, we want to do our very best to close as many as possible. We'd love to have over 100% close ratio. That means you're selling multiple policies to everyone. Well, we're going to touch on over the next few sessions steps of the sales process. And this is all familiar to everyone. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Like we said, this is like running the bases. We're just looking to do more cuts and fewer loops. How can we just be a little bit more efficient? So you'll notice here a general sales process. You're familiar with it. You do some preparation. Initially, you want to build some rapport. After that, you do some discovery. You're asking questions. Then you provide a solution or some options that they can choose from. Then you close, and you're going to do some form of follow-up. In this session, we're going to dive into one part of the building rapport step. So the way we define building rapport, it's like the first about 2 minutes of a conversation you might have with a prospect. Now, this can expand or contract depending on the situation. But what we've found is how it starts is how it goes. If you really can nail that first 2 minutes of the quoting process, you are going to find that your closing ratio will go up dramatically. A lot of times people in sales, they think, well, how can I get a better closing line or close better? What we have found is when people improve their skills in how they approach and deliver the building rapport step, this is where we see close rates go way through the roof. And I'm sure you'll recognize some of these things that you're actually doing them. What we're going to really challenge everyone is how can you do them a little bit better? So specifically in the building rapport step, we have 3 techniques or things that we use. Number 1 is the conversation stack. This is a trigger to build some kind of relationship or find something in common with your prospect first. The second thing is the agenda statement. This is going to build some professional credibility that, hey, when you talk to them, you're going to be asking some questions, and you're doing this for a reason because you want to get them the proper protection at the most competitive price. And then the last thing is to build some credibility to differentiate yourself from the competition, because chances are they're shopping other carriers out there. So how can you differentiate yourself? So in today's video, I'm going to share a little bit more about what we call the conversation stack. And hopefully that triggers some ideas on what you're doing, and more specifically, how can you make your next quote even better so your close rates go even higher? Sound good? So along with the questionnaire, we sent out a link to this workbook, and we'll be using this workbook over the next few sessions. My advice is to print this out, and that way you can take some notes during our sessions and maybe write down some things that you can share with the rest of the team. So as I mentioned, the building rapport step has 3 distinct steps that we break down. The first thing is what we call the conversation stack. This is where you want to create a connection with that prospect immediately. And when you can ideally find something in common, what happens is their resistance comes down and their receptivity to you and your questions goes up. Oftentimes we'll get a call, or we'll call out to someone and they want to quote. They're like, quote me, quote me, quote me. They're got the blinders on. They're just looking for a price. So how do we slow things down so we can build some value? Well, this is a technique that has worked well for me and gives you a couple of extra tools. And I think you might even recognize some things here that you already do. But this is a way to, as Dale Carnegie puts it, is focus on being interested versus trying to be interesting. In sales, too often, salespeople try to make it about them when it's way more important to make it about the client or the prospect. And we do that by asking them questions and taking an interest. You're experienced people. I know some people, they just want that quote, but how can you maybe insert a few questions that can create that bond and lower that resistance, right? So that way you do not just become an order taker. I'm going to take the information, run it through the rater, and whatever happens, it's like the slot machine, right? I'll put it in, I'll pull the lever, and hopefully I'll get a good price and I'll get this deal. But when we're savvy and we can insert just the right question at the right time, we can begin to build that relationship. And again, when we do this well and we're willing to really break out of our comfort zone to make sure we connect with each and every person just a little bit, some more than others, then more than likely you're going to close more of them. So this conversation stack is meant to trigger some ideas and questions on being interested. I can go over this more in our call, but basically, if you look at the pictures on the side, is you want to remember these pictures, okay? So the first one, I'll step back here for a minute, is where you just think of a square nameplate, one that might be on someone's desk. Picture that, and it says your name right on the front. Next thing is a house on top of that nameplate. And you can pick a color so it's vivid in your mind. After that is a family portrait, picture of a family, famous family that might be on the wall as soon as you walk in. And you'll notice in that family portrait, put this in your mind, the family are carrying golf clubs, okay? I know Arizona get a lot of golfers out there, so they got their golf clubs with the strap over their shoulder. And they're wearing work gloves, right? Could be, pink, brown, whatever you choose, right? But put some work gloves on them and pick a color for that. And then next to that, you notice a model airplane, one that you might notice in a travel agency, right? So you notice that over there. And the other thing, I want you to picture yourself walking onto this airplane, okay? And you're sitting down and the flight attendants give you a glass of passion juice. Some of you might have something else in there, maybe that clear liquid, but that's up to you. But some passion juice, okay? Drink that down. And the last thing is, this is a great flight because when you get off the airplane, the flight attendants are handing you bouquets of flowers, your favorite flowers. Picture those. So when you think about these pictures, these are just mere triggers that help you be interested about the other person. Now, listen, we realize you're not going to sit there for 30 minutes and do happy hour with people, but this is a great tool when you're out networking and you're looking for that next question where you feel like it's just getting a little bit awkward. We all know people love talking about themselves. So the meaning is revealed over here on the right-hand side of the grid, but name, hey, what's your name? So often we slow down, we don't get a person's name fully, right? Where do you live? Where are you from? Easy questions to ask, and they're going to share more and more. And chances are you might have a friend that lives in that area. Maybe you have clients that you've insured in that area. Again, you're finding a commonality, and that's going to make things sticky. Hey, tell me about your family, or do you have family in the area? I like that question because it keeps me out of trouble. One I learned the hard way is, hey, so you're married? That one can get you in trouble. So next thing is, what do you do for fun, or what are you doing for fun this weekend? So the next one is, what do you do for fun, or what are you doing for fun this weekend? They might be saying, well, I'm cleaning the garage, whatever. But you go down the list here. These are different topics that people are generally open to sharing. And remember, when they share about themselves and they're talking about themselves, they're really interested. And in fact, you become more interesting. So that's the conversation stack. There's some additional things here that you can take a look through. But if you see a person if you see somebody in person, you can ask them about their interests. Just some examples here that I left in this little workbook for you. And then next week, we'll go over the agenda statement. But in this week's session, I really want to dive into the conversation on how do you create a connection and take it from just running a quote to really building a relationship, finding something in common. I'm sure you do it. If you're not unaware of it, you're probably doing it unconsciously. Let's dive into that, and we'll talk more about building rapport in that first 30 to 60 seconds. What questions do you ask? I'll see you on the call and look forward to picking up where we left off.